Hi, I'm Jordan.
Hi, I'm Georgia, and today we are going to be discussing burnout. Specifically, we will define what burnout is, the three characteristics, the essential variables in the burnout process, the burnout perspectives, ways to measure it, ways we can help prevent it, and why it is vital. What is athlete burnout? Burnout refers to the physical, mental, and emotional fatigue from long and intense training periods. It goes beyond the typical difficulties athletes may face within their sport.
There are three symptoms of burnout. The first one is emotional and physical exhaustion, which refers to the emotional and physical fatigue from the psychological and physical demands of training. The next one is sport devaluation. This is where athletes have a negative and a detached attitude towards sport participation. It is often reflected by a lack of concern for the sport and performance quality. The last symptom is reduced sense of accomplishment. This is a tendency to evaluate oneself negatively with respect to sport performance and accomplishment.
In 1996, Gold et al. Conducted a study to recognize the critical variables in the burnout process within sport. After interviewing 10 burnout junior elite tennis players, the researchers separated the factors into four categories. Physical concerns encompass physical problems and poor play. Psychological concerns include unfulfilled or inappropriate expectations, lack of enjoyment, motivational concerns, personality not conducive to competitive tennis. Next is logistical concerns, which encompasses time demands of tennis, travel concerns, and adjusting to school. The last one is social or interpersonal concerns, which encompasses dissatisfaction with social life, negative parental influence, and dissatisfaction with those involved.
Three different burnout perspectives. First, we're going to start with the stress-based perspective. This states that physical and psychological demands of sport cause chronic stress, which will ultimately lead to burnout. Here is where we see physical training causing stress for athletes. Next, we have the motivational perspective, which emphasizes normative comparison goals, where athletes gauge their ability and success by comparing their performance to others. Under this perspective, an athlete's basic psychological needs are thwarted and are driven by external pressures such as coaches or parents. Lastly, we have the entrapment based perspective, and it states that athletes do not enjoy the sport but are too invested, so they just continue with it. Athletes believe that they are trapped and that there is no other alternatives, limiting their decision making. A large part of why athletes feel like they are trapped is because their identity is solely tied to the sport.
One major way to identify athletes at risk for burnout is the Athlete Burnout Questionnaire. This questionnaire measures the three symptoms of burnout through 15 statements, ranging from 1 to 5, 1 being almost never to 5 being most of the time. Two of the statements are reverse scored, but other than those, the responses are the scores. There are 5 statements for each subscale. To find the score of each subscale, find the average of the scores within each of them. The results are utilized by sports psychologists, coaches, athletic trainers, and researchers.
Now, there are a few ways athletes can prevent burnout. The first is to avoid overtraining. Athletes can do this by listening to their body and taking life events into consideration. Next, they can prioritize recovery. Here, athletes should focus on getting enough sleep, hydrating, and eating a balanced diet. The last one is to seek help outside of sport. Some outside help could include meditation, mindfulness, social support, and professional counselors.
There are also a couple of interventions that may help in reducing burnout in athletes. The first one is the self-regulation based intervention. This was found successful in a study conducted by Dubuc, Charbonneau, and Duran Bush in 2015. This intervention used athlete and researcher discussion topics like perceived demands, resources, behavioral and emotional responses, preferred standards, goals, preparation and coping strategies, and performance standards. After 7 to 9 weeks of bi-weekly sessions, the researchers found reductions in exhaustion and reduced sense of accomplishment. The second intervention is the gratitude-based intervention. This was found successful in a study conducted by Gabbana et al. In 2019. This was done in a workshop where participants reflected on what they are grateful for and why they are grateful for it, along with what meaning this brought to their life. Following the 90-minute workshop, reduction in athletes' total burnout were found 4 weeks later.
So, why is burnout important? For one, it is one of the most common reasons why athletes may retire from their sport. Another reason is that people tend to confuse this with depression due to the similarities in the symptoms. Burnout is present in sport, but not other aspects of life. Meanwhile, depression is present in all aspects of life and can be present in sport.
Thank you for listening.